Welcome to the next session of SAP FICO training. We will continue the accounts payable continued part, where in the last topic we completed the cash discount for outgoing payment, and now we will be looking after to creation of vendor master records. Now vendor master records can be created with the transaction code FK01. And once a vendor master is created, at times we need to make certain changes in the master. So for change of vendor master, the transaction code is FK02, and to just display the details of vendor master we'll be using FK03. So first we'll be going to FK01 for the things. Let's see. So as seen, we'll first go to create the vendor master with the transaction code FK01. So moving to SAP, we'll run the transaction code FK01, enter. Now once you enter, you can see the screen comes up with you is vendor, company code and account group. Now as you would remember, we have created different account group. Account group means the vendor account group. And if you want a vendor to be created in that particular vendor account group, you have to assign the account group to that. So 1200 is the company code. The next is the mandatory part is account group. In which vendor account group you want this vendor to be created. So you have to look after to that. Now for that you can go to the F4 key in the keyboard, where you can see how many vendor groups we have created earlier. So to just check back, what we created was a service vendor group. So to create any vendor in the service vendor group, you can double click onto the service vendor, and once you have created, you don't have to put anything on the vendor particular on the vendor field. Why? Because to service account group we have assigned a number range. If you remember in the steps of configuration, that number range means that number range, with that particular number range, a code will be generated to the vendor over here. So we don't have to fill this vendor code over here from our side. It will be an automatic system generated code. So once you have filled the company code and the account group, we need to go to the next step, that is enter. Now when you will enter to this, the screen will take you to the next page and will ask you for the vendor details. So over here you need to fill the vendor details, if the vendor is a company or a code or a Mr. or what. So over here I can put a company, and we can put the company as, suppose any service company we can take. Like suppose I take up as TCS. So TCS, and in the same way over here also you can put up the same thing over here, and you can put the address over here, what the company address is in this particular details. However, these are optional part. If you wish to put the address details, it's up to you. If you don't want to put, you can skip the address as well. But the mandatory part over here is this particular tick mark. If you remember, if you look after to this, there is a tick mark on the country, so where the you must have to select the country. So for country you can go to F4 key on the keyboard, and with that you can search the company from which, for the country from which you are taking this particular vendor. Suppose I take the vendor from United States itself, so we'll be selecting the United States, and then you can go to the region as well. The region will let you know which country in United States. It will select the region. So in this you can have any of these particular part, like Florida or any other, Indiana, anything as such. Suppose I take up as suppose I take it as New York, so I can double click on it, and the New York region code has been taken up over here. In the same way you can fill the street number as, suppose 121 I have filled up. Over here you can put any postal code digit, and then city as well. Suppose city is New York. So it's up to you whether you want to take these things or not, but the country has to be specified. It is a mandatory part. Further coming down, you can put further vendor details in that, language, telephone number of the vendor, mobile number of the vendor if any specific person is there for that, email ID of the vendor. If you take the email ID later on, you can auto generate various things directly to the vendor as well, like invoices can be sent to vendor, or any payment done, automatic mails can be generated and can be sent to the vendor as well on the email IDs. So this is the first page. Now once you done this first page, then you have to click on the enter. It will take you to the second page. So select, putting enter on it, it will take you to the next page, that is account control. In the account control, there are different fields, but we don't need to do anything in this account control part as these are not relevant as of now. So moving to the next is again enter. Enter will take you to the next page again. So enter. Now it will take you to the next page, that is the bank details. Now over here you can fill the bank details of the vendor if you wish to. So bank details can be filled over here. Over here you need to take the country, then you can fill the company bank key, bank account number, account holder, and all those details so that the payment can be processed to the vendor. So that is over here can be taken up. Once you fill it these part, then you can again select enter from the keyboard. It will take you to the next page, and in the next page is contact person. Suppose you know certain specific people on that particular vendor to whom you normally connect to, so you can put those people contact details over here, and the name of the person, the telephone number, and all those details can be taken up over here. So that part can be taken in this. So contact person, then enter again. Now when you enter, it will take you to the next page, that is accounting information. Now in accounting information, mind it, this reconciliation account is the most important part, and you can see this is a tick mark over there. So this tick mark we did when we created the account service account group, and we made reconciliation account mandatory in the account settings in field status group, if you remember. So this part is very important, where we will be selecting the ledger which on the basis of which all the vendor transaction will be taken in the ledger account. So you can go for F4 key in the keyboard, and you can see what are the different reconciliation account there. So you can see only the domestic vendor account is there. So we only created one reconciliation account for vendor, it is domestic. In the same way, you can have multiple different vendor account depending upon your requirement, and you can categorize those things accordingly. So we'll be selecting this domestic vendor account, double click. So reconciliation account is selected. Now head office, if there is any, you can select that. You can go to below like release group. These are various other things which are not to be used now. This can be used later on, but right now the basic settings is to select the reconciliation account. Now you can see on the screen there is one more tick over here, the tick mark. That means this is a mandatory part again. So going to this again, I am selecting the F4. You can take any cash management group. However, this particular cash management group relates to basically treasury module. Now over here I am selecting this first tab as a domestic payment AP, so as a cash management group part. So just you don't have to take these two things. Once you do this, you have to save it. So saving it will get your vendor master created. You can see the code has been generated with a 4-digit. So this is how a vendor is created. Once you have created this vendor, you can even go and you can display this vendor as well. So to display the vendor, the transaction code is FK02. Sorry, to change a vendor, the transaction code is FK02, and to just only display it is FK03. So suppose I go to FK02 to just have a look at the vendor again. So if you want to look at the vendor, you have to select these tabs from here one by one, or there could be an option of selecting it from here, select all. So select all will get all the fields selected, then enter with the keyboard. and it will take you to the next page. Now you can see all the detail one by one page to another page. Details are there. Suppose later on you want to change certain things in it, you can change it, like you can change the address, you can change the company name, even below you want to, suppose you have messed up the mobile number or email ID, you can now update those things. So anything which you have not filled earlier while creating the vendor, right now with FK02 while changing the vendor you can update those things over here now. So this is what can be done with this. Now again, next screen, you can see over here. So again, if you know the vendor VAT registration number, you can put the VAT registration number over here. If there is any other changes to be done, that can be done. Then again you can go to the next screen. Again you can again edit the bank detail if you want to. If you want to delete that bank detail once you have filled, you can delete that from over here as well. So these are the options which are given to you with the change vendor option. So again, the next screen is again this contact people, so you can change the contact detail of the vendor as well. And now the reconciliation account and the cash management, and even if there is anything which need to be updated in the future, you can update those things under below. Right now you don't have to do anything. So once you have done this, you can save it again and the changes will be taken place. So that is it which has to be done while creating the vendor master. Now you can display the vendor as well with FK02. So for displaying the vendor, you have to go to /n FK03, and you can see you have to select the vendor. Right now it is coming automatically. Whenever you create a vendor, it automatically gets picked. If you've not, then you can go to this F4 tab and you can even search the vendor as well as per the company code. So you can go to this vendor by company code. So over here you can take the company code over here and then you can enter, and number of vendors will come in it if there are many. So in this company code we have just created the first vendor, it is this. Otherwise there could be number of vendors. So double click on this, the vendor is selected, then you can select these which part you want to have a check with, and then enter keyboard with the keyboard. Now you can see these are display part. Moving to the next screen, these all will be in a display mode. You cannot do any changes to them, you can just have a look to them, that's it. So these are three different transactions by which you can have vendor master records. That is, FK01 is for creation of vendor master, FK02 is for change, if any changes has to be done in the vendor master with respect to anything, and FK03 is for display of the vendor master records. So this is how you go and you make the vendor master and you can have it looked. So once we are done with this particular vendor master records, now moving to the next, we'll be doing the unit testing. Now coming to the unit testing, all the configuration related to accounts payable is done. Let's revisit once again to the accounts receivable configurations we did. You can see these configurations. Vendor account group we have created, we have defined a number range to the vendor account group accordingly, and if you we have created the vendor master with 440 million, number was generated 4000000, and that came up from this number range only. If you go and check back again, we will see that service vendor group has been assigned to that series, and that is why that series has been generated when we created the vendor master records. So that is it. And the GL as a reconciliation account we created over here, the same GL has been assigned to this vendor master, so that the vendor is a sub ledger actually. So the sub ledger, whatever the transactions take place in the vendor, that is a sub ledger, will get automatically floated to the GL as well, that is the ledger account by which we may basically prepare the financial statements. So that was this, we created all those things. Now we'll go to unit testing and we'll check that if we go for all these transactions in the system, that is all these business transactions, and if everything works fine, that means our configurations are fine. So let's move up to next is the posting a vendor invoice. So before going to this, let's take a practical example in accounts payable. In accounts payable, purchases are done through two way outs. One way out is to purchase with the help of material or purchase department, and another is purchasing directly by the finance or accounts department. So when in a material management or a purchase department purchase any material, there is a sequence, there is a process, that is what is termed as procure to pay cycle. So